Admiral John Winters stood by the large window, watching the human team get ready to leave. After 6 long months of talks with the Galactic Conclave, everything had fallen apart. The aliens from Zirax watched with their 4 eyes and made clicking sounds with their mouth parts. Humans knew this meant they were happy about what was happening. Lisa Grant, the main human speaker in the talks, pushed her gray hair behind her ear as she picked up her papers. Her face looked calm, but John could tell she was upset by the way she held her shoulders tight. The Conclave had given humans a final choice that wasn't really a choice at all: give up control of Earth's spaceships and weapons, or be cut off from all trade with other planets. They were never going to treat us like we mattered, Lisa said quietly as she walked past John. These talks were just for show. They've wanted to keep us weak ever since we learned how to travel faster than light. The space station felt cold and empty as the last few humans walked onto their ship. John checked his computer screen and saw bad news. Ships from Zirax were already moving toward Proxima Centauri, the human settlement closest to Earth. They would get there in less than 2 days. John thought about all the families living on Proxima Centauri, men, women, and children who had no idea they might soon be in danger. His own nephew Sam lived there with his wife. They had just had a baby girl 3 months ago. "Sir, the shuttle is ready," said Officer Mary Jones, standing at attention beside him. "President Hoffman is waiting for our report." John nodded and took one last look at the Conclave meeting room, the round table where humans had sat for 6 months, trying to find common ground with beings from 27 different worlds. The translation machines that sometimes made mistakes that caused hours of confusion. The food station that never seemed to have anything humans could safely eat. "We did everything right," he said, more to himself than to Mary. "We followed their rules. We shared our science. We agreed to their limits on how many ships we could build." "Yes, sir," Mary said. "My father always told me that some people don't want fair deals. They just want to win." The ship's engines started up with a low hum as John took his seat. Through the window, he could see the massive Conclave station growing smaller. It was beautiful in its way, a giant wheel of shining metal, home to the oldest alliance of space-traveling species in the known galaxy. Humans had been so proud when they were invited to join the talks. Now that pride was replaced by worry, and beneath that, something else. Something John didn't want to admit he was feeling. Anger. The ship's captain spoke over the sound system. "Course set for Earth. We'll be there in 36 hours. Lisa sat down next to John. "What do you think they'll do first?" she asked. John looked at the latest report on his screen. More Ziraxian ships were moving, not just near Proxima Centauri now, but near all 7 human colonies. "They'll try to scare us," he said. "Show us how many ships they have, how much damage they could do. They think we'll give up without a fight." Lisa smiled for the first time in days. "Then they really don't understand humans at all, do they?" As the ship jumped to light speed, John thought about the secret projects back on Earth. The weapons hidden in underwater bases. The ships disguised as science stations. The soldiers trained for space combat that officially didn't exist. The Conclave thought they knew everything about humans. They were wrong. Defense Secretary Alan Moore hit the table with his fist. The sound made everyone in the White House meeting room look up. "We knew this might happen," he said. "Since the day we met aliens, we've been getting ready. Operation Scattered Shield starts now." President Karen Hoffman nodded slowly. She was 62 years old with gray hair and tired eyes. She had wanted her time as president to end with Earth joining the space community peacefully. Now she would be known as the president who led humans in their first war against aliens. "Show me our defenses," she said. General Frank Martinez stepped forward and pressed a button. A 3D map of Earth and its nearby space appeared above the table. Little dots of light showed where Earth's ships were. "The Ziraxians think our ships are weak," he said. "They don't know what we've been hiding." On the screens around the room, live videos showed what was happening. Earth's spaceships, which had always looked plain and simple from the outside, were changing. Panels opened to show weapons that no alien had ever seen. Special engines lit up. Shields 3 times stronger than what the aliens thought humans had came to life. Far away on Mars and Europa, giant doors built into the ground slid open. Inside these hidden places were thousands of fighting robots ready to fly into space. Humans had always thought the aliens might turn against them, so they had prepared in secret. In a small town in Colorado, on a street with trees and nice houses, Nathan Garcia stood outside his front door. He wore his space pilot uniform for the first time in 5 years. His wife Olivia held their 4-year-old daughter Beth in her arms. "Daddy has to go to work for a while," Nathan said, kneeling down to talk to Beth. "In space?" Beth asked. She knew her father used to fly ships before she was born. "Yes, in space," Nathan said. "I'll bring you back a present." He stood up and hugged Olivia. All across Earth, the same scene was happening. Millions of men and women who used to be in the Space Forces were being called back. People who worked regular jobs yesterday were putting on uniforms today. "I'll be home soon," Nathan said to Olivia. "You better be," she said, trying to smile. "Who's going to fix the roof if you don't come back?" Back in the White House, President Hoffman watched as the first reports came in. The Xeraxians had sent 30 big ships toward Proxima Centauri. They thought they would find a helpless human colony. "How many ships do we have near Proxima?" she asked. "Just 5 that the Xeraxians can see," General Martinez said with a small smile. "But we have 15 more hidden behind the moons, and 200 fighter ships ready to jump in from Saturn's rings." President Hoffman looked at the faces around the table. Men and women who had worked for years to prepare for this day. Some looked scared. Some looked excited. All looked ready. "Send the message to all colonies," she said. "Operation Scattered Shield is active. This is not a drill." As her words went out across space, Earth's hidden strength began to show itself. The aliens thought they were hunting sheep. They were about to meet wolves. The fight at Proxima Centauri lasted only 6 hours. The Xeraxian ships came expecting to find a weak human colony. Instead, they found humans ready and waiting for them. Captain Samantha Wells sat in the command chair of her ship, the Defiant. At 34, she was one of the youngest ship captains in Earth's fleet. Her short brown hair was cut in a simple style that needed no care during long missions. Her blue uniform was clean and pressed. "All ships report ready, Captain," said her second-in-command, Jack Rivera. Samantha nodded and looked at the big screen showing the Xeraxian ships coming closer. They moved in a perfect line, like they always did. The aliens were so sure of themselves that they didn't even try to hide. "They expect us to fight like them," she told her crew as they got ready. "But we've been fighting each other for thousands of years. We know how to surprise our enemies." She turned to her weapons officer. "Are the new quantum disruptors ready?" "Yes, Captain," he said. "The aliens have never seen this technology. Their shields won't stop it." Samantha smiled. For years, humans had shown the aliens only their older weapons. The best ones had been kept secret, waiting for a day like today. "All ships, follow Battle Plan Delta," she ordered. "Move now." The human ships suddenly broke formation. Instead of staying in a line like the aliens expected, each ship went in a different direction. Some went up, some down. Some hid behind a large asteroids that circled the colony. The Xeraxians seemed confused. Their perfect line slowed down as they tried to figure out what the humans were doing. "Now," Samantha said. From behind 3 different asteroids, human ships fired their quantum disruptors. The new weapons sent waves of energy that passed right through the Xeraxian shields as if they weren't there. On the main Xeraxian ship, Admiral Krez watched in shock as his ship's power went out. The lights died. The engines stopped. Even the air system made a strange noise and then went quiet. "What is happening?" he demanded. No one answered because no one knew. Back on the Defiant, Samantha watched as 3 big Xeraxian ships drifted powerless in space. 17 smaller alien ships had been destroyed completely. Not one human ship had been lost. "Send the message to Earth," she told Jack. "Proxima Centauri is safe. The colony was not harmed." Jack smiled as he sent the message. They really didn't know what they were getting into, did they? "No," Samantha said. "They thought because we're new to space travel, we must be weak. They forgot that being new doesn't mean being stupid." By the time more ships from Earth arrived to help, the battle was over. The remaining Zoraxian ships had run away. On Earth, people watched the news about the victory. TV and internet reports showed happy crowds in the streets, but President Hoffman made sure the reports didn't say anything about the new weapons that had been used. "Let them keep thinking we're weaker than we are," she told her advisors. "The surprise worked once. It might work again." In his home in Colorado, Olivia Garcia watched the news with her daughter Beth. The reports didn't say which ships had fought in the battle. She didn't know if Nathan had been there. She held Beth's hand tightly and hoped that wherever he was safe. The first battle was over. Humans had won, but everyone knew that the war had just begun. 2 weeks after the battle at Proxima Centauri, the Galactic Conclave was in chaos. Ambassador Peter Kim watched the meeting from a safe distance. He sat in a small room on the neutral planet of Vega Prime, looking at a large screen that showed aliens from 32 different worlds all talking at once. Peter was 45 years old with short black hair that was starting to turn gray at the sides. He had been a teacher before becoming a diplomat. That experience helped him stay patient now as he watched the aliens argue about what to do about humans. The Zoraxians, with their 4 eyes and clicking mouthparts, demanded that everyone join them in fighting Earth. The Elzorians, tall blue aliens who had never liked the Zoraxians, said everyone should wait and think carefully. The Drell, the oldest species in the conclave, just watched without saying anything. They thought we would give up right away, Peter said to his helper, Susan Wright. Susan was taking notes on everything that was said in the meeting. "The aliens grew up on worlds with less gravity than Earth and thinner air," Peter continued. "They don't understand what it's like to evolve on a planet like ours. They don't know how strong that makes us." Susan nodded. "My grandfather used to say that Earth is a hard teacher, but its lessons stick with you." While Peter watched the main meeting, other human diplomats were having quiet talks with some of the smaller alien groups. The Volari, short green aliens who were good at trade but had few warships, were starting to think humans might be useful friends. The Krell, who looked like 7-foot-tall lizards, were impressed by how humans had fought at Proxima Centauri. On Earth, in a building deep under the Rocky Mountains, Richard Bell looked at reports about the different alien species in the conclave. Richard worked for Earth Intelligence, the group that gathered information about other worlds. He had dark skin, a shaved head, and eyes that missed nothing. "The conclave isn't as united as they want us to think," he told his boss, Director Helen Ward. "Look at these messages we intercepted. At least 8 species are having doubts about fighting us." Helen studied the reports. She had been director for 15 years and had seen first contact with aliens happen during her time. "Can we use these differences to our advantage?" Richard nodded. "I think so. The Zoraxians have been pushing everyone around for centuries. Many of the smaller species don't like them, but have been too afraid to say so." Helen walked to a map on the wall that showed all the known alien worlds. "If we can get some of them to stop supporting the Zoraxians, we might not have to fight the whole conclave." Back on Vega Prime, Peter Kim received a message from Earth with new instructions. He read it carefully, then turned to Susan. "Tell our people to set up private meetings with the Volari, the Krell, and the Belorians," he said. "The president says we can offer them special trade deals if they stay neutral in this conflict." Susan began sending the messages right away. As she worked, they both watched the main screen where the conclave meeting was falling into greater disorder. The Elzorians were now openly arguing with the Zoraxians. 2 smaller species had walked out entirely. "They expected us to be simple and easy to deal with. Peter said with a small smile. They're learning that humans are anything but simple. 3 months into the war, the Zeraxians attacked the human colony on Taw City. This time, they came ready with new weapons designed to fight what they had seen at Proxima Centauri. Commander Grace Phillips watched as her ships took heavy damage. She was 38, with short red hair and a small scar above her right eye from an accident during training years ago. Her face stayed calm even as the screens around her showed 3 human ships exploding. Fall back to second positions, she ordered, leading her remaining ships behind Taw City's 4th planet. Her voice was steady, giving no hint of the fear she felt inside. The Zeraxian ships followed, their weapons firing constantly. They thought they had the humans running scared. They were wrong. Waiting behind the planet was humanity's newest weapon, the gravity lance. It had been created by scientist Donald Harris in the weeks after the first battle. Donald was an unusual scientist. He liked country music, wore cowboy boots in his lab, and had a mind that saw connections others missed. The Zeraxians understand gravity differently than we do. He had explained when he first showed the weapon to military leaders. We can use that against them. Now, as the Zeraxian ships came around the planet, Grace gave the order. Fire gravity lances. Beams of invisible energy shot out from hidden human ships. They didn't look impressive. There were no bright lights or loud sounds. But where the beams hit, space itself seemed to bend. 7 Zeraxian ships were suddenly crushed, as if giant hands had squeezed them. The rest turned and fled before they could be hit. On Earth, life had changed for everyone. Factories worked day and night, making parts for ships and weapons. People grew food in every available space. Backyards, rooftops, and city parks were turned into gardens. Everyone saved resources and shared what they had. In his underwater laboratory beneath the Pacific Ocean, scientist Paul Evans studied a piece of Zeraxian technology recovered from the battle at Proxima Centauri. Paul was in his 50s, with thick glasses and hands that were always in motion. Around him, 20 other scientists worked at similar tables. Their approach to quantum science is completely different from ours, he told General Martinez, who had come to see their progress. It's not better or worse, just different. If we can combine their ideas with ours, we might jump ahead by 100 years in our technology. The general nodded. How soon can you have something we can use? Paul looked at the alien device. 2 months for something basic. 6 months for something that will really surprise them. In space, Nathan Garcia piloted his fighter ship on patrol near Jupiter. Since the war began, he had fought in 2 small battles and had 3 confirmed kills of enemy ships. He kept a picture of his wife Olivia and daughter Beth on his control panel. Squadron leader to all ships, he said into his communication system. Stay alert. Intelligence says the Zeraxians may try to hit the Jupiter fuel stations next. As he spoke, his scanner picked up strange readings. All ships, battle formation. We have company coming. Back on Earth, President Hoffman met with her war council. Maps of human and alien territories covered the walls. The Zeraxians are attacking more often now, Defense Secretary Moore reported. But they're getting desperate. Their last 3 attacks failed. The president looked at the newest weapon designs on the table in front of her. Let's make sure their next attack fails too. 6 months into the war, humans had kept their main colonies safe, but they had a big problem. The fighting was using up Earth's supplies too fast. To win, they needed to break apart the galactic conclave, so they wouldn't have to fight all the aliens at once. Ambassador Amy Turner sat in a plane room on the frontier world of Epsilon Indi. The room had no windows and only one door, which was guarded by human soldiers. Amy was meeting secretly with aliens from 7 different species who were part of the conclave, but not happy with the Zeraxians. Amy was tall with dark skin and hair that she wore in tight braids. She had been a lawyer before becoming a diplomat, and she knew how to make a good case. We never wanted this war, she told the aliens sitting around the table. We only wanted to be treated fairly and to keep our freedom. The aliens looked at each other. One of them, A Volari with green skin and large eyes spoke up. The Xeraxians have been pushing all of us around for centuries, but they are strong and we are not. Amy smiled. Alone, maybe, but together. That's a different story. While this secret meeting was happening, something big occurred in public. The Elzorians, blue-skinned aliens whose ships were almost as good as the Xeraxians, announced they were leaving the Conclave's war against Earth. Their main speaker said in a message sent across the galaxy, "We have looked at old records. The Xeraxians started this fight on purpose because they were afraid humans would become too strong in the future." This news hit the Conclave like a bomb. 3 more species immediately said they were also stopping their attacks on humans. The Xeraxians were furious and threatened these species, which only made more aliens angry with them. General William Clark, a tall man with gray hair who had fought in wars on Earth before aliens were discovered, saw this as a chance. He ordered human ships to attack only Xeraxian targets while carefully avoiding ships from other species. "Show them we only fight those who fight us," he told his commanders in a video meeting. "Make it clear that anyone who stops attacking us will be safe from us." On a Xeraxian colony world called Draxis IV, human Nickel Adams worked with local slaves. The Xeraxians had conquered many species over the years and forced them to work. Nickel had been sent to find these slaves and help them fight back against their masters. Nickel was small and looked weak, which helped her avoid notice. She had been a high school teacher before the war, but had volunteered for this dangerous mission. Tonight, she met with leaders of 3 slave species in a hidden underground room. "Earth will send weapons on the next supply ship," she told them. "Be ready in 10 days. One of the slave leaders, a tall insect-like being named Click-Tie, made a sound like bells ringing. "We have waited generations for a chance like this. The Xeraxians took our world 300 years ago. Now we take it back." Back on Earth, President Hoffman got reports of more and more cracks in the Conclave. "The Xeraxians are losing friends fast," Defense Secretary Moore told her. 5 more species have declared neutrality this week alone. The president looked at a star map showing human space, Xeraxian space, and the territories of other aliens. "Keep pushing," she ordered. The Xeraxians started this thinking everyone would stand with them. Let's make sure they end it standing alone. 1 year after walking out of the peace talks, humans were not defeated as the Xeraxians had expected. Instead, Earth was now the center of a new group of allies. The Galactic Conclave had fallen apart, and in its place was what humans called the Interstellar Cooperative. Admiral John Winters, who had been there when the talks failed a year ago, watched the signing of the new peace treaty from a space station orbiting Jupiter. His uniform was crisp, and his face showed pride as he looked at the big viewing screen. Ambassador Lisa Grant, who had led the human team that walked out of the old talks, now led the creation of a new agreement based on all members being equal and helping defend each other. Her hair was a little grayer now, but her eyes were bright with hope. "Who would have thought we'd end up here?" John said quietly as he stood beside her, watching ships from 12 different alien worlds fly past Jupiter in a show of unity. Lisa smiled. "Sometimes you have to be willing to walk away to get the respect you deserve." 5 former Conclave species had fully joined with humans. 12 others stayed neutral but traded goods with Earth. Only the Xeraxians and 3 species that still supported them remained enemies, but they were now contained by a zone of defense created by the new allies. President Hoffman, looking tired but satisfied, spoke to the gathered representatives on the space station. "We never wanted war," she said, her voice carried by translators to all the alien ears. "But we would not accept being controlled. The peace we build today will be stronger because it's built on respect, not on one group having power over others." As the ceremony ended, ships from all the member species flew together around Jupiter's colorful clouds. Among them was Captain Nathan Garcia, now leading his own ship after showing great skill in battle. Looking at the diverse fleet around him, he thought about how quickly things had changed in the galaxy. "Captain," said his communication officer, I have a call for you from Earth. It's your family." Nathan smiled and went to his private room to take the call. On the screen appeared Olivia and Beth. His daughter had grown taller in the months he'd been away. "When are you coming home, Daddy?" Beth asked. "Soon," he promised. "The war is over now. I'll be home for your birthday." On Earth, schools were already teaching children about what people called the Conclave War. Teachers explained how it was a turning point in human history, the time when a species that had developed alone proved it belonged among the stars not by conquering others, but by standing strong for what was right, and then offering friendship once the fighting stopped. Historian Edward Miller sat in his office at Harvard University, recording his thoughts about these events. He was old enough to remember first contact with aliens 15 years earlier, and how excited and nervous people had been. "The greatest irony," he said into his recorder, "is that by trying to keep humans from becoming important in the galaxy, the Conclave actually made it happen faster. When peace collapsed as humans exited the talks, no one could have guessed it would lead to a better galaxy for everyone." In orbit around Earth, construction began on a new meeting place for the Interstellar Cooperative. Unlike the old Conclave station, this one would have areas designed for all member species, with no special places for any one group. The future would be built on equality, not dominance, a lesson that had been learned the hard way.